The WNBA Players Union just authorized a strike vote. And if you think this is about fair wages, you're about to have your mind absolutely blown. What I'm about to expose will flip everything you thought you knew about professional sports labor disputes completely upside down. Let me hit you with a number that's going to make your jaw drop. 8 times. The WNBA players are staring down an 8 times salary increase, and they're threatening to walk away from it. Not double, not triple, 8 times their current maximum contract. And they might strike over it. Now, before you rush to the comments to defend this move, stick with me because the math here is absolutely insane, and nobody in the mainstream sports media wants to talk about the real numbers behind this controversy. Here's where this story gets absolutely wild. The decision to strike isn't even in the hands of the 150-plus players in the league. It's controlled by a 7-person executive committee. And get this, 3 of those 7 people, including the president, Nneka Ogwumike, are directly involved with Unrivaled. You know, that competing league that's literally trying to steal market share from the WNBA. Let that sink in for a second. The people making strike decisions for the WNBA are financially invested in a rival league. How is anybody okay with this? If I'm a player on that roster, I'm immediately raising my hand saying, hold up, we need people on this committee who don't have massive conflicts of interest running the show. This isn't rocket science, people. But here's what really exposes what's actually going on behind the scenes. Alexa Philippou over at ESPN got Ogwumike on record explaining why they authorized the strike vote.
We found out the other day from a very smart guy by the name of David Sampson, a sports business guru. He come out and said that issue of revenue sharing is dead. It's not going to happen, and the NBA, the owners, are not going to agree to it. And that the women would comply if they wanted to play ball. Otherwise, they would fold the league.
And I'm quoting directly here. It's a symbol of our unity and the confidence we have in each other. A symbol. Let that word marinate in your brain for a minute. This isn't about actual leverage or real negotiating power. It's theater. It's a public relations stunt designed to make the players look tough in the court of public opinion. She literally admitted on record that it's about giving themselves.
So she just told you this is a public symbol of look at us, we are women, hear us roar.
Authority and leverage in negotiations. Translation? They know they're getting a massive deal already, but they want to look like warriors who fought tooth and nail for every single penny. David Sampson, one of the sharpest sports business minds in the entire industry, already came out publicly and said revenue sharing is dead on arrival. Not happening. The NBA owners will not agree to it. Period. End of discussion. And if the players push too hard on this, the owners have made it crystal clear they'll just fold the league entirely and walk away. Think about that reality for a second. The very entity that's subsidizing your entire operation, keeping the lights on, paying the bills, is telling you there's a line in the sand you cannot cross, and you're still out here doing press conferences about striking? That's not bravery, that's financial illiteracy at its finest. Now let's talk about what the player...
Like we knew the league in 2024 had lost $40 million. I think by the end of November it was. We found that out. And we're almost to the end of the year, and we still don't know if the league, and that's probably a ploy by the players, because if it comes out that this league still failed to make a profit and you're asking for all of this, the players are going to look gargantuanly bad.
Players are actually turning down here because this is where the story gets absolutely absurd and frankly insulting to people working real jobs. By the end of this proposed deal, which runs 3 years, the maximum salary goes from around $140,000 to over $1 million per year. That's not a cost of living adjustment, people. That's generational wealth type money. Life-changing money, and you're seriously going to strike over that? The optics are absolutely catastrophic. You're telling me you'll walk away from life-changing financial security because you want a percentage of revenue from a league that's never turned a profit in its entire existence? Come on, be serious right now. And speaking of profits, here's the massive elephant in the room that nobody in sports media wants to address head-on. Last year, the New York Post reported the WNBA lost $40 million in 2024. $40 million in losses. And now we're almost at the end of 2025, and mysteriously, we haven't seen any financial reports released to the public. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you exactly why. Because if it comes out that the league still didn't make money this year, after all the hype and record viewership, the players demanding revenue sharing are going to look absolutely ridiculous. They'll look like people demanding a cut of a pie that doesn't even exist yet, like showing up to a potluck demanding your share when nobody brought any food. Let me paint you a picture of how completely insane this negotiation has become. The players are saying, we want to be paid what we're worth. Fair enough, right? Reasonable demand. So the league offers them 8 times their current salary. 8 times. And the response is, no, now we want revenue sharing instead. The goalpost just moved across the entire field, through the parking lot and into the next zip code. For years, all we heard from players and media advocates was, pay us our value, pay us what we're worth, respect our talent. Now that they're getting paid their value, and then some, suddenly it's not about the money anymore. Now it's about the principle of revenue sharing. Now it's about setting precedents and making history. You genuinely can't make this stuff up. Here's where the strategy gets really transparent if you're paying attention. Industry insiders and player agents are already telling ESPN off the record that Adam Silver is going to step in at the 11th hour, probably early January around the 9th or 10th, and he's going to say, ladies, we're not moving on revenue sharing. That's completely off the table, non-negotiable, but we will give you this and this and this. And you know exactly what's going to happen next. They're going to sign the deal. They're going to take their 8-time salary increase, and then every single sports media outlet is going to write glowing puff pieces about how brave and stunning and courageous these women were to stand up to the big bad NBA owners, even though those same owners just handed them the biggest payday in league history without breaking a sweat. The strike authorization vote itself is absolutely hilarious when you really break down the mechanics. Multiple agents and league sources told ESPN they don't actually think any games will be missed, not one. One source said, and I'm quoting, "A work stoppage by technicality is possible." You know what that corporate speak means in plain English? They might strike for like 4 days, get a deal done over a long weekend, and then act like they won some major David versus Goliath victory for the history books. It's all posturing for the cameras. It's all designed for the headlines and social media clips. We were willing to sacrifice everything for the greater good. Except you weren't actually willing to sacrifice anything real because you knew the deal was coming the entire time. You knew the finish line before the race even started. Drop a comment right now. Do you think the players are right to demand revenue sharing, or is this the worst negotiation strategy you've ever seen? And let's address the timing of this whole circus, because it matters more than you think. They authorized this big dramatic strike vote months before the season even starts. If you're really that far apart in negotiations, if things are really as dire and contentious as the union publicly claims, why aren't you striking right now? Why wait? One industry source asked that exact question to ESPN. If it's all negative with no progress being made, what are you waiting on? What's the holdup? The answer is painfully obvious to anyone paying attention. You're waiting because this is negotiation theater. You're waiting because you need the drama to build up slowly, so when you eventually sign the deal, it looks like you fought hard and earned every dollar through blood, sweat, and tears. Now, I want to be crystal clear about something before the comments explode. I'm not saying the players don't deserve more money. They absolutely deserve more. The league has grown significantly. The viewership has grown. The revenue has grown. The cultural impact has grown. They should absolutely see that reflected in their paychecks. And guess what? They are. 8 times their current max salary is exactly that reflection. That's the market responding to their value. But demanding revenue sharing from a league that operated at a loss for literally its entire existence, that's not fighting for fair wages. That's financial fantasy land. That's asking for something that doesn't exist. Here's the reality check that nobody in the mainstream media wants to give you straight up. Revenue sharing works beautifully when there's actual revenue to share. The NBA players get 50% of basketball-related income because the NBA generates billions in profit every single year. Real profit, money in the bank. The WNBA has never generated profit, not once in its entire history. So what exactly are you planning to share here? Losses? Do you want a percentage of negative $40 million? Do you want to owe the league money? That's not how business works. That's not how any of this works in the real world. And before you come at me in the comments saying I'm anti-women or anti-WNBA or some other nonsense, save it. I'm anti-nonsense. I'm anti-financial illiteracy. I'm anti-people turning down generational wealth and then playing victim about it on social media. If the Men's G League came out tomorrow and said we're striking because we want revenue sharing from the NBA, I'd call that stupid too. And guess what? The G League actually develops NBA talent and serves a real documented purpose in the basketball ecosystem. What's the WNBA's equivalent value proposition to the NBA? Because right now it seems like the value flows one direction. The NBA subsidizes the entire operation, covers the losses, provides the infrastructure, and gets criticized for it. Let's talk about what actually happens if they go through with this strike. Best case scenario for the players, they get the exact same deal they were going to get anyway, but now they've damaged relations with the league office, alienated casual fans who don't understand why you'd strike over an 8x raise, and they've given ammunition to every critic who says the WNBA isn't financially viable as a standalone business. Worst case scenario? The owners say, you know what, we're tired of losing $40 million a year on a league that holds us hostage every single contract negotiation cycle. We're done. League folds tomorrow. And then what happens? You've got 150 players